Indy.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Prashant here. Hi. Thanks so much for participating and coming on. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
We'll be starting in exactly 1 minute. Thank you. Indy.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Prashant here. Hi. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Not in the street.
$7:30.
Hello, good
I call the
evening.
40th meeting of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment to order. May we all observe 1 minute of silence for world peace. Thank you very much. A very, very warm welcome to each one of you. I think we are meeting after quite a few weeks online, and thankfully we've been having a lot of physical meetings, in-person meetings, project-related meetings. I think that's how many of us have got together and got to see each other after a long time. Because of COVID, we've been tucked away at our homes, but it's nice to see all of you back, and a good attendance also today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Indy Khanna and Muskan Khanna, who are joining us today as the speakers. Indy, welcome to you.
Hi, sir. Hi. Just to clarify, my full name is Gurinder Singh Khanna. The Hindi is a very shortened name.
Oh, okay. Gurinder, you said, right?
No, but Hindi is fine. Everybody knows me as Hindi. I'm just clarifying. You'll be wondering what Hindi means. That's the only
Okay.
thing.
All right. Thanks for
It's a
clarifying.
very, very, very cool name.
Well,
It sounds better.
I've had it since I was a child. It was Gurinder to Inder to Hindi. So it makes it much easier to
Nice.
operate internationally.
Welcome to Rotary Bangalore Cantonment, Indy and Muskan.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We also have a few guests, I think, today. Mr. Ganeshan from the Senior Citizen Club. Yeah, Mr. Ganeshan. Okay. Anybody else? Any other guests joined us today?
I have some guests. They'll be joining in. They're not yet signed in. Gayatri and Prashant Menon.
Oh, lovely.
They're also based in Konur, and they'll be joining in shortly.
So, Indy, you're coming live to us from Kunur, is it?
Yeah, well, not quite Kunur, but I'm between Kunur and Kotagiri. I'm in the Nilgiri. It's a place.
Okay.
We live in a place called Katabetu.
Wow, nice. Wonderful. May I now hand over to our club secretary who's coming to you right from UK, London at this point of time to give you the club announcements. Over to you, Nanda.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, actually, during the last week, we had a very excellent fellowship event that was organized by the Club Services Committee. And that was on Thursday, the 31st of March. And it was attended by 46 Rotarians, ANs, and ANETs. The Board of Directors held their 10th meeting on the online platform on Friday, the 1st of April. And then the Community Services held a meeting on Sunday, the 3rd of April at 10 a.m. at RHL. And at this meeting, 25 wheelchairs were distributed to the needy in association with Provision Asia. Our District Governor, Rotarian Faisal Mahmood, was the chief guest, and the Zone Governor, Rotarian Tirumurugan, and the Assistant Governor, Rotarian Shashikant Lokre, also attended that meeting. The Club Services Committee held their meeting on Sunday, the 3rd of April at 11:30 a.m. at Century Club. The fellowship and lunch that followed the meeting was a joint one hosted by the Club Service Committee and the board. And it was hosted by its members, Rotarian Ramdas Pai, Rotarian Gargi Oja, and Rotarian Sudeep Carlo and their spouses Aruna Pai, Kalidas, and Meka. Now for the birthdays and anniversaries that are being celebrated this coming week, our new and very well settled Rotarian, Sharmila Ravinder, celebrates her birthday on the 9th of April. As for the aunts, Manjula Shetty celebrates her birthday on the 12th of April. And now for the wedding anniversaries, our President Vinod John and Anne Mercy John are celebrating their wedding anniversary on the 10th of April. On behalf of our club, I wish all those who are celebrating the special day in their lives the very best of health, happiness, and prosperity in the years to come. Now, moving forward to the programs of the forthcoming week, there are no committee meetings planned for the coming week. I think the club services, the youth services is planning something this week, if I'm not mistaken. The next meeting will be held on the 14th of April, and the topic of address will be anti-child trafficking and how to create a safe place for our children. Further details of the meeting will be shared separately. Now, before I close, I'd like to inform you that the district conference is being held on the 16th and 17th of April. We have so far 20 registrations, and anyone who is interested in attending the conference can contact me. Well, that's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. Special thanks to you for reminding me about my anniversary.
Yeah. You wouldn't say that in front of your wife, would you?
Oh, yeah, she's not here today.
You can't really see that.
All right. Once again, reiterating, like Nanda said, the district conference is happening on the 16th and 17th. For the first time, it's right here in the heart of the city. It's at Palace Grounds. This is a massive, massive event. At least 3,000 people are expected to be there. So people who have not attended a district conference, you must attend it to see the scale at which the district operates, and really some wonderful speakers, including, like I said, Shashi Tharoor is going to be the keynote speaker. We have Smriti Irani. We have Sunil Alag. We have some wonderful speakers lined up. We have, I think, 19 people registered, Nanda, for the conference already from the club. 20, wonderful. So at least about 5-6 more joiners. It'll be great. We have a procession and things like that for our club. And also, we are sponsoring the vocational track at the district conference, which means that we will be making a presentation. I think Vocational Service Director Venkat will be making a presentation about the club and its activities. It'll be absolutely a pride to see our presentation being made. So do join us to the conference. Those who have not registered, request you to do so immediately. Reach out to Nanda and get registered immediately. Without any further ado, let's get on to the program. I think we have the classification talk. I request Susan Marcus to do the classification talk.
Thank you, Vinod. I will just try to share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, please. You can go into slideshow mode.
Yes. Right. So thank you very much. This is the classification talk. My classification being management of vertical transportation, which is otherwise known as elevators. And this should be like my 3-minute elevator speech for the Rotary Bangalore Cantonment. So it's been about 15 years that I've worked in this industry, and some might say that this is the longest passenger or man trap which has happened in an elevator or the elevator industry. But I would like to point out that from my own experience, it's been quite an elevating experience. I joined Otis as a sales head for Bangalore and have moved on progressively to various roles, recently taking on the role as sales head for our large account business at Mumbai.
Hi.
So about the business itself.
No, my wife's brother had come from Delhi.
Request.
So
can you mute some people? Can you get, yeah, I'll do that.
The yellow card.
Yeah, done that. Go ahead, Susan. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. So about the elevator industry itself, there are arguments that it's as old as 5 BC and Archimedes invented the first elevator. The Egyptians said that they did it. but the modern elevator per se is invented by Mr. Elisha Graves Otis, the person that you see on the screen. And this is about 170 years ago, where the man who was a chronic inventor stood on a platform and asked his assistant to cut the ropes and demonstrated that the elevator did not fall. And the tagline, "All safe, ladies and gentlemen," is from this incident and has stood the test of time in our industry, is one of the cornerstones of our industry. So modern cities would not be possible without the invention of elevators. And a company like Otis every day moves about 2 billion people across the world. And that makes us the world's largest people carrier. So the company is about $14 billion in terms of revenue, and we are present across the world, about 200 countries. 9 out of 10 of the world's tallest towers are elevated by Otis, including the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest freestanding structure in the world today, and which has about, I think, about 58 Otis elevators. And there is a race for mankind to build a building which would be over 1 kilometer long. And when we do that, I'm sure Otis will also have an elevator ready for that building as well. So coming to my job as the key person or the front face of Otis to our customers are in various segments. Elevators are required in residential projects, commercial projects, infrastructure projects. And there are different strokes for each of these customers because they could be developers, architects, contractors, and so on. And there is this whole aspect that comes into planning of an elevator because it's a high technology product. And we really need to envisage what the building would be used like maybe 10 years down the line or 30 years down the line. And the whole aspect of passenger experience or customer experience is very important. So we do a lot of tools in terms of traffic planning, estimating what could be
I'll just call you
the
back.
waiting
I'm on this
intervals
Zoom meeting.
or handling capacity of these
I'll just call you back.
So what are the different kinds of elevators as well? So based on the application of the building, you could have high-speed elevators. You could have very compact machine roomless elevators. It could be a very high technology product like a regenerative drive or a destination control. And the buzzword today, and these are some of the projects that I'm working on, which is the new digital elevator, the future-ready elevator, or an elevator which would communicate with us. And the future is basically about being predictive, and you never have to call an elevator mechanic. The elevator would be able to rectify itself and never go onto a breakdown or a shutdown kind of a situation, which can actually paralyze a movement in a building. So these are some of the projects which I have been associated with. They say that there is no elevator to success and that you need to take the stairs. This is where I would strongly disagree. I've been with this industry, which has a gender ratio of less than 2%, but still I can strongly say that when I'm down, there is an elevator to take me up. So the projects which I worked on, like the Altair in Colombo, the World Trade Center at Chennai, the Prestige Corporate Office and the Goldman Sachs building at Bangalore, all have been exemplary examples of teamwork with our customers. And I leave you with that note today. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Susan, for a very, very interesting, enlightening presentation about elevators. And very happy to note that elevators are the largest passenger carriers in the world. I didn't think of that. What would be our world without elevators? Thank you for that talk, Susan. May I now invite Prashant Nair to introduce our guest speakers for today?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Very, very good evening to you. And I think Indy, Khanna, and Muskan didn't need elevators. They're in a very beautiful location above us all in the Nilgiris. And I thank them very much for coming here to address us today. I actually came across Indy and Muskan's article on a blog written, and it was very fascinating. And I reached out to a friend of mine, Gayatri and Prashant, who are living in Kunur, and they happened to connect us. And so here they are to talk to us about the wonderful beverage called tea, which is my favorite, and other than a little bit of whiskey in the evenings. So I'll just quickly run through an introduction of Indy. So Indy Khanna, or as he's very well known in the industry, he is an extremely passionate person about tea, and as he says, he is an ongoing story, and it's still being written. And tea has been a passion and an integral part of Indy's life for over 45 years. Hands-on experience in every single aspect related to tea, stretching all the way from tea nursery and field cultivation into manufacturer and blending. Further extended into international trade makes him a unique individual in the industry. Indy is very well known for his optimism and forceful character. Indy has been an innovative force in Nilgiri Hills, where he has been producing artisanal teas for many years. All the learning and experience in his ongoing journey has now been encapsulated into his dream project, the Tea Studio. A little about Muskan, his daughter. So Muskan Khanna is the head of operations. So she set aside her promising career in advertising after earning a degree in media studies from the University of Birmingham. Muskan has taken the plunge, diving headlong into the world of tea, taking to tea literally like a fish to water. Slowly but surely, and with a single-minded purpose, she is all about taking over the baton from her father, absorbing his vast experience, further leveraging that knowledge to a surprisingly good effect. As Susan just said, even Muskan says that it's a rarity in a very male-dominated industry. So she continues to raise the bar higher. So it's wonderful to have Muskan speak to us about the elevator industry, where she is raising the bar as well. And now we have Muskan in the tea industry. So Muskan heads a dedicated team of young ladies from the neighboring villages of where the tea studio is located. She very capably manages the tea studio, experimenting and thinking out of the box. She has innovated and produced some never before done teas. The green Nilgiri bamboo, a tea which is awaiting a patent in Muskan's name, is the first wow from her bag of tricks. An innovative tea which can be described as a star, which one suspects is also the first of many, which in course of time come popping out of the same bag. So wonderful to have Indy and Muskan Khanna with us, and we wish them all the best. And now let them take us on a journey of the wonderful beverage of tea. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're making me blush. Anyway.
Welcome to you, Indy and Muskan. Over to you.
Well, I honestly don't know where to start. So it would be so much easier if it would be just a question and answer session, because that would help us cover everything really.
Okay, wonderful.
It would probably help us, Indy, if you take us through your journey through how you got started on this and what was happening in terms of the tea plantation, how things are changing and things like that.
Indy, just to Vinod, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
you see, we have the whole thing is we have a few coffee planters, very well-known estate owners in our club as well.
Uh-huh.
But coffee has been a very successful beverage as well. So we just want to know the intricacies of tea. How this beverage is so different and how it's so beautiful, and how it occupies such an important space, and what are the uniqueness of things of it, things like that. Just a journey into the magnificent beverage. I'm sure you have a lot to say, but if you can just give us a little bit of.
I don't think you should give him that opening, because he always has a lot to say. So I think it's just easier if you can say it.
It's easier if Muskan says it. Muskan, you take over.
Well, no, the journey of the tea industry is all you, Dad. I'm just like,
Come on. Stop being modest and let's get on with it. Go on.
Dad, stop it.
Well, all right. As Prashant said, I've been in the industry for 45 years, since 75. So I was basically a tea planter, first in South India with a company called Malayalam Plantations, where I worked for 4 years. And then I was in Assam for a good 12 years. And when conditions in Assam became became very, very bad with the Ulfa problem, I managed to find a job in Dubai, moved to Dubai, was in a job situation for 3 years, and then started my own business. So T&T is the company which I run. Actually, it started in 1993 under a different name in Dubai. From Dubai, we moved in 2000. Just got tired of Dubai. We moved to Sri Lanka. We were there for 5 years. Again, I just carried my business along. It was, since the only thing I really knew was tea, we carried it along. And then finally decided that we have to come back to India. So in 2005, actually relocated to Cochin. We needed to be somewhere close to tea. I have to be close to tea. So it's either Calcutta or Cochin. Calcutta being not quite my favorite city, I moved to Cochin. And we were there for all of 5 months when a friend of mine in North India who's in the organic food trade, he contacted me and said he wanted to sort of buy an estate and convert it to organic. And so we set up a small little company, and he had the money, I had the knowledge. And, once we'd set it up, then the thing was to come up to find an estate. And the only really, marketable brand or, geographical brand in South India happens to be the Nilgiris. So in 2 or 3 months, I made about 5 or 6 trips up. And then on one of my trips, I just thought to myself, I said, why am I staying in Cochin when I could be staying here? So without my wife even knowing about it, I signed a lease, took on a house, and lock, stock and barrel, we moved to Kunur. And 3 years down the road, we built a house. And now once I was here, I looked around and I said, what have they done to the tea industry? They have really, 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 and I'm sorry to say this, and a lot of people will not agree with me, but they've messed it up nice and proper here. This is not what tea is supposed to be. It should never have been this. So I decided to do something about it. And for one, I started talking a lot in the club and everything, and everybody thought I was mad. But then I decided to put my money where my mouth is, and I set up a company in partnership with Matheson's, which is Kunur Estates. We ran that estate, the factory. It was called the Boutique Factory for 8 years. Fell foul with each other, decided to shut it down. And in the meantime, having established that there is a growing market for high quality specialty teas, we started the Tea Studio. So it's called the Tea Studio Private Limited. And when we were starting it, Muskan she was working in a media company in Bombay. And it was just lucky on our part. I just happened to ask her if she'd like to come to Kunur. And she said when she'd come and give it a try. We didn't have much hope that she'd ever come here. And when she came here, like she said, she took to it like a fish to water. And so then when we started the Tea Studio, she said, do you mind if I manage it? I said, please be my guest, just go right ahead. So since she's taken over, she has become the sort of the identification or the USP of the Tea Studio. We have two USPs. We have our building and we have Muskan. And she runs the show. I only, pardon the parliamentary language, I just fart around. She does it all.
Muskan?
Thank you, Indy. But I guess you're just being a little, after 45 years of being in the tea industry. And, when you said that they have really, done injustice to tea, what, according to you, is, a great tea or a great beverage? And why do you think whatever happened in Nilgiris happened?
Muskan, would you like to answer that one?
I think it's about making quality teas, whereas unfortunately what happened in the Nilgiris, or I would say pan-India, not taking into account Darjeeling, but I would say pan-India, what's happened when you start manufacturing teas, I don't know if it's an easier process or because the CTC teas, which are the stuff you put in your tea bags and stuff, which sells more easily, and there's a higher demand for that kind of tea. So I think it just sort of became like a pattern where people started manufacturing those kind of teas. And with teas like ours, it's very labor intensive. It's labor intensive, your leaf is expensive, your machinery is expensive. So there's a lot of expense involved. And then to market those teas, because unfortunately in India, there's hardly a market for teas of this value, because we sell our teas from anywhere ranging between, I would say, 1,800 rupees to about 7,000 rupees. So there's a very little Indian clientele who actually wants to pay that much for these teas. So I think it's just, it's the easier option to go for the Indian teas or whatever.
Okay, I'm just saying that, in terms of, tea as an individual, I'm sure many of my members also would agree. We grew up, having tea or coffee. Being in Bangalore, of course, coffee also had a lot to say. And we see a lot of developments in the coffee domain. We have a member here called Mr. Appadurai, who's also a coffee planter. And we've seen many innovative things happening in coffee. So according to you, tea was, essentially, if I'm not mistaken, brought about by the British to India. Is that right?
Well,
Yeah.
in India, yes, but it's basically the Chinese who developed started the industry, going back 5,000 years. So, which is what I keep trying to explain to people, that while we have, a little over 200 years of tea culture, in which we are all very proud of, and, we go strutting around, the Chinese have 5,000 years of experience. So they know a lot more than us. But to answer the question which you asked as to why I made that statement, is because it's very simple. We've shut our eyes to innovation. We've shut our eyes, we've shut our ears. We don't want to learn. We are good Indians. We know the best. Hame koi nahi sikha sakta. And that is what I have been going red in the face trying to explain to people, that people with 5,000 years of experience definitely know a little more than you do. We don't even need to go that far. I mean, I just go across to Sri Lanka and you see that the industry there, I mean, leave aside the fact that at the moment they're, in deep shit, so to say. But the industry there is definitely much more vibrant than we are, because we've become staid. We've become, we've lost the verve. There's no fire in the belly any longer. It's just about, putting in the leaf one end and getting the tea on the other side and just selling it, because we have such a large domestic market that anything we produce, when I'm saying we, please, that excludes what we are doing, but anything that the industry produces gets lapped up by the domestic market. So there is really no desire to innovate or to, basically invest. It's a lack of investment at the moment. Yeah, Muskan, you were saying something.
No, that was just my dog barking. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So, Muskan, you have just developed a tea which we read it in your bio. Now, for example, in coffee, there are people experimenting. I'm sorry if I bring coffee. Please don't get annoyed with me. I'm just bringing it up because I see that innovation happening where people are kind of, I think, Appadurai, if you're there, you can just pop in, because it's nice to know that this is an interactive session. So we can obviously ask questions and other people also can raise a hand or just ask a question. People are kind of marrying coffee with, in casks which held wine. Yeah, Appa, you're there? Appa, if you want to say something. And kind of getting out a new blend and doing things like that. So, and there is a developing market to it. So where do you think India can take advantage of the situation in the next 4 or 5 years? Muskan, if you can, or
Take advantage of what situations? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
of people in India today wanting. I mean, of course, it's a still smaller market compared to perhaps in terms of the how the Indians used to, I mean, how we generally like to have tea. But we have Sublime tea, we have different teas now here. If you go to Fab India, you have various types of teas and things like that. So how do you think, India will be poised to kind of, or people like y'all who are experimenting with this tea, try to mix? Before I start all that, what is the most amazing aspect, if I can ask you 2-3 aspects, which makes tea the wonderful beverage it is? If I may just ask that before going forward. Why is tea such a great beverage?
Well, I think it's one of the most healthy beverages to have, and it's one of the most healthy beverages to have if you have it the way it's meant to be had, which is just tea as it is. But unfortunately, in India, if you give people tea just as it is, they'll look at you and say, "You've just given us hot water." In India, we're so used to putting sugar and jaggery and milk and a whole lot of condiments in our tea that you.
I think we lost Muskan in terms of audio.
Your audio is gone, Muskan.
She's on a freeze.
Hello.
Yeah.
We could have lost her there.
The connectivity is gone.
Yeah.
Do you hear me, or can you hear me?
Yeah, you are clear.
Okay. Well, while Muskan gets back on, I mean, what you're saying is basically, you see, tea, unlike coffee, coffee also has antioxidants. Tea has a much higher level of oxidants and is very much lower in terms of caffeine and nicotine content. And, while coffee is now considered as a quick fix solution, tea is something which is, well, it needs time. So you have to actually savor it. It's a different level of enjoyment. But yes, it's also a fact that coffee is today, in terms of market awareness, is streets ahead of where we are. For the simple reason that coffee was taken up by the West. They've spent pots of money in marketing the product, whereas tea has been a slow starter in that respect. And we unfortunately we have a millstone around the tea industry's neck. It's called the tea board, which doesn't know. I'm sorry, it's asked from its elbow. And they are the ones who are responsible for trying to sell tea. I mean, you go to international fairs, tea fairs, and you feel ashamed when you come across the Tea Board of India stand. Next to that, you will have the Sri Lankan Tea Board stand. You'll have knowledgeable people. You'll have a lovely display. You will have people who will actually interact with you. You walk across to the Indian stand, it's like a panwadi shop. There's only little tins lying all around, and there's nobody there. Because where are the people who are supposed to be manning the store? Or they've gone shopping somewhere. So you see, we've actually suffered a lot with that. With that, but that is one aspect of it. The other is, of course, there has not been that build-up of awareness of what good tea is or should be. I mean, I always compare it with China. Mind you, they have a 5,000-year culture, but it's a very, very, very vibrant culture. I mean, do you know that in China, you can be buying teas worth, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a kilogram, and they will not export those teas. There's nobody interested in paying that sort of money internationally. Forget about India. Anywhere globally, nobody's willing to pay that sort of money. Who buys those teas? It's the Chinese. So, we're sort of in a situation where we're up against big marketing spend, which we don't have, and so the awareness level continues to be very, very low. And it's little pipsqueaks like us who are trying to do something, and it's tough. Trying to get a foot into the door is a very, very tough one.
Okay, so Indy, you had mentioned about actually enjoying. I mean, it's a process in making tea. The way you consume it, the way you taste it. What are the kind of advice you can, or may I say, suggestions you can give us as people who are, I'm sure, not exposed to the very, very best of teas, maybe, some of us maybe, but how do you think an ideal tea should be enjoyed or should be made and enjoyed in your experience, given
You
our
see, you got two aspects to tea. You've got the CTC teas, which is where you put your sugar, your milk, your masala, and you boil it to death. And the tea is basically there just for namesake. It just gives the color. You're basically, when you're drinking the regular tea at home, which you have, you're having more milk and sugar and possibly spices than the tea itself. You don't even get to taste the tea really. So, which is the way, which why I would say 90% of the Indian households drink that tea. You want to enjoy a good cup of tea, buy a good starting point is buying a good tea. Then you brew it. Then when you say brew it, all you need to do is buy yourself a nice pot, put in some tea leaves, pour in hot water, boiling water, wait for a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and just drink it, and you will be surprised at just how wonderful the experience is. It's very, very different from going to a chai kadai and saying I'll just have a cup of tea. It's very different to that. So I mean, in our range, you see, we don't produce. Just to explain it a little bit, we do not produce grades of tea. What you buy currently in the market are all grades of the same bulk. So what you've got is industrially produced teas. And they're just, at the end of the day, they're graded into different sizes. And that is where you get your FBOP and BOP and PD and PF, which I'm sure a lot of people don't even know what it means. But it's just a grading system, which is defining the size of the grain. Whereas in our case, ours is an artisanal product. It is produced independently of anything else. And we don't do any sorting or grading at the end of it. We just produce a tea according to the requirement. We don't have stock. We produce against order, fresh teas against order. So in our range, we have 3 whites, we've got 6 greens, we have a roasted green, we have 3 blacks, we have a couple of oolongs. So each tea is an absolutely individual tea. It's a standalone tea.
So I think Narayan has a question. Narayan, you want to ask?
Yeah, yes. Thanks for giving the time. So Indian Muskan, right? I think my question nicely leads on to what you just mentioned. So I'm very curious, heard a lot of marketing stuff in the industry, but really want to hear from you all because you all the experience is, the mention of white tea, green tea, regular tea, black tea. Nowadays you get these turmeric tea, etc. So what is the real difference between each of them in terms of the benefits? And I presume that each maybe, being kind of procured or being cultivated at different stages. So if you could just dwell upon that, that was my first question. And the second one is, in India, on the coffee side, a lot of these specialty roasteries and all that have been set up, and especially in Bangalore, it's in a big vogue. Any similar plans you see for, a tea tasting kind of experience coming up? So these are my 2 questions.
Well, I'll let Muskan get on to explaining the differences on the teas and all, but I'll just do one simple correction. You mentioned turmeric tea. I'm sorry, turmeric tea is not a tea, it's a spice. So you see, this is the problem we are facing. This is the American penchant for anything that goes into a tea bag is now sort of palmed off as being tea. And you go red in the face or blue in the face trying to explain to people that they are herbs, they are spices, they are tisanes, and then there is tea. When I say tea, it is what we derive from the botanical plant Camellia sinensis. So the starting point is the same, and now Muskan will tell you about the different types.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so basically the starting point for any of these teas, be it a white, green, oolong or black, it's all the same. The leaf is the same. It's just how you process the tea which makes the difference. So for instance, a white tea is something which actually does not touch a machine. It is dried within sun and shade. You keep altering between sun and shade. Whereas for the greens, you have the whole starting process is different. For the black, your machines are different. But by and large, in my personal opinion, I think every tea has the same amount of antioxidants. I mean, there's this whole hype about, oh, white tea has the most amount of antioxidants, or green tea does, and black tea has less. I personally don't find that to be true. I think it depends on how you drink the tea. So naturally, when it happens, when you're drinking a cup of green tea or white tea, you physically cannot put any milk. Yes, some people do put sugar and lime and stuff, which really ruins the taste of the tea. But with the black tea, it's natural to sort of add these ingredients. And that takes away the health benefit of the tea. So I feel personally, if you don't add anything, it's pretty much the same. And as for the turmeric, I'm sure you also meant the flavored teas. Yes, there are teas where they add flavors. Now, they can be natural flavors, or they can be sort of, I mean, it doesn't, again, it doesn't take away from the benefit of the tea, but I think it's because most of the time, because tea is such a light element that when you put any sort of flavor in it, you're not drinking tea. So when you're having, like, let's say cinnamon tea, you're not actually having tea. You're just drinking cinnamon flavored water because you've taken away the entire flavor of the tea because it's such a mild flavor. Yeah.
Adding to that question, Muskan, you said you have a range from 1,700 to 8,000 rupees. I assume that's for a kilo.
Yes.
And that's pretty much as expensive as a bottle of scotch at 8,000 rupees. Now, my question is, when you drink say a 1,700 rupees tea vis-a-vis you drink a 8,000 rupees tea, can a normal person actually make out that difference? Or is it has to be an acquired taste for specialists like you to understand? Or can we make out a difference between an 8,000 rupee tea and a 1,500 rupee tea?
You will have to visit the factory and taste and let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
You can also send some samples probably.
Vinod, you just got your overnight picnic.
I guess so. That's a good idea. Yeah, but I guess
you're welcome. Any of you, all of you are welcome to come and visit the studio. And we welcome visitors. We've had people from the industry coming in from, well, Darjeeling, from Colombia, from Peru, from the UK, from US, coming here to learn tea and how to make artisanal tea. And we always get asked the question that, why are you promoting the competition? And I have to keep reminding people, I'm sorry, we're just producing tea. We're not running a nuclear reactor here. So if anybody wants to come in, they're more than welcome. We welcome visitors at any point of time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other questions, Rotarian Jans? Shivdev, you have a question? Please unmute and ask.
Mr. Indy or Muskan, you can take this question. How does a common man, how can they afford the kind of teas that you all produce? I mean, where do you see the mass market for your tea? The costing is so high compared to this thing.
Easily explained. What do you pay for a cup of coffee at the moment?
Pardon me?
What do you pay for a cup of coffee?
Anywhere between 10 rupees upwards to 600 rupees in some.
No, there you go. What do you pay for let's assume we are talking about the 8,000 rupee tea. Let's just assume we're talking about that.
Okay.
You are using, well, I'm sorry, my maths is very bad. Your tea cost is 12 rupees. That's all it is for with the 8,000 rupee tea. Your tea cost is only 12 rupees. Do you realize that when you're having a cup of what is the normal chai, the cost of the milk, the sugar is far, far greater than the tea itself. And of course, if you're adding in cardamom and you're putting in cinnamon and you're putting in a clove, then the tea is irrelevant. It just may as well not even be there. This is what I'm saying. An 8,000 rupee tea translates into 12 rupees for a cup. I mean, how can anybody not afford it? You tell me that.
No, I understand at homes, Mr. Indy, but what about at a chai wala's place or a dashni or a restaurant where when we go out and have a cup of tea? We don't have a choice. We don't have access to these kind of things.
You see, when you talk about a chai wala's place, then it's a different ball game altogether, because the the clientele is different. They require a different thing. The type of teas we are talking about, these are teas which you have. Well, one of you gentlemen mentioned a good scotch or something. Well, it's actually as good as that. It's a very good conversation starter. And well, it's what can I say? It's different. Yes, there is a certain amount of acquired taste, but when you get hooked onto it, it's very difficult to go back to anything which is different.
I get the point. So chai pe charcha. Thanks a lot.
Chai is chai. This
Chai pe
is
charcha. Yeah.
this is different.
Samir,
What is the
Samir,
Yeah, in the beginning of the chat in the beginning, you said that leave out Darjeeling tea, will talk of Assam and Nilgiris, which has gone bad and people have commercialized it. And when you look at the international tea market, when you talk about tea, Assam tea and Darjeeling tea seem to demand a premium compared to Nilgiris tea. What would be the reason for, let's say, a Darjeeling tea or an Assam tea to be different from Nilgiris tea? Or what would be the difference between the three places what we're talking about?
Muskan, you want to take that or you want me?
I know. I said keeping aside Darjeeling, the rest of India drinks regular CTCT is what I meant, or
Correct.
mostly orthodox or whatever. But Darjeeling, of course, is a different market for itself. But the thing is, yes, Darjeeling still, their quality of leaf is much superior to what we have in the Nilgiris. They still, I think, they still sort of respect their products. So they produce that much higher quality of tea. Plus, they have the different seasons where you have your first flush, your second flush. Whereas in Nilgiris, it's an all-year production. It's all year round. It's the same production because our weather patterns are pretty much same, stagnant throughout the year. It's also, unfortunately, with the tea board, Nilgiris really hasn't been promoted. So when you think of Indian teas, as a non-Indian, when you think of an Indian tea, your initial reaction is, oh, is it Assam or is it Darjeeling? Very few non-Indians actually know that Nilgiris is a place where good teas can be produced. And as a matter of fact, we've got some very, very exceptional leaf here. So if people actually put their minds to it and actually want to put money and effort into it, we can, I wouldn't say match Darjeeling, but yeah, we'd be close enough.
Well, I'll just add to that. Going back in the day, the Nilgiris was considered to be the Darjeeling of the South. It may come as a bit of a surprise to, I guess, the bulk of you, but the highest tea in the world grows in the Nilgiris. I mean, our elevation is in any case higher than Darjeeling. All our tea grows between, our factory is at 6,200 feet. The highest tea here is Korukunda, which is at 8,200 feet. The entire Darjeeling belt stretches between 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So, there's a lot of fallacy or, lack of knowledge about what the Nilgiris really is. But to add to what Muskan was saying, what is happening to Nilgiris teas is not specific to Nilgiris tea. It's happening to Indian tea per se. Assam is going much the same way as the Nilgiris is, or anywhere in South India is. Darjeeling is actually going through a very, very serious crisis at the moment. Because, going back about 4 years ago, they had a very prolonged Gorkha agitation. Prolonged to the extent that it went on for about 9 months. And the main buyers of Darjeeling teas continue to be overseas, mainly Germany and Japan. And people needed to keep their supply lines full. And there was no tea available for love or money. So they turned their attention to Nepal. Now, Nepal has the same terroir, the same terrain, the same people, the same bushes, the same weather pattern. Everything is the same. The difference is that the Nepali tea producer is the new kid on the block. He has still a lot of fire in his belly. In Darjeeling, unfortunately, everybody is very sated and said, this is good. So the Nepalis actually took over the entire market. And today, internationally, there is more Nepal tea selling than there is Darjeeling tea. It's, again, a lot of people will argue with me on this. It is, in terms of quality, a better tea than Darjeeling. And it's available at cheaper, well, marginally cheaper than what Darjeeling tea is. But the Nepalis have really done it very well. So it's an industry-wise problem, really. It's not confined only to the Nilgiris. In India, it's an industry-wide problem.
Having gone to Nepal, what about Ceylon? How would Ceylon tea compared to the Nilgiris tea or the other Indian teas?
I'm glad you asked the question. If you go to Sri Lanka, we have the same terrain, we have the same weather patterns, we have the same people, because all your labor on the Sri Lankan estates are all from these parts. We have the same bushes, we have the same wind patterns, we have the same, I mean, it is absolutely the same. And then you have to ask the question that why is it that the Indian tea sells at $2 a kg, whereas across the Park Straits, their tea sells at $5 to $6 a kg. The difference lies in respect, sir. The Sri Lankan respects his product. We have forgotten how to respect our product. We are not willing to understand that you have to, that the bush is like a little baby. You have to nurture it. Your factory is like, you have to keep pumping in money. You have to stay up with the times. We have not done it here. The Sri Lankans have. And which is why the Sri Lankan industry, also please bear in mind that, back in the day, the tea industry in India was the main foreign exchange earner for the country. And at that time, whatever we were producing, more than 60% used to get exported. Today, we are producing 6-7 times what we were producing then. I mean, our total Indian production is about 1.3 billion kilograms. 85% of that is consumed domestically. 15% goes overseas. The value is nothing. So if you look at if you look at the radar screen of the Commerce Ministry, our industry will not even blip on the radar screen. So there's been a total, sort of push it into the background and let's get on with life sort of thing.
Manjunath, you have a question? Please unmute.
Yeah, no, I mean, I read recently somewhere that, Assam, I mean, just taking an example, is actually switching from the traditional tea business to other commercial crops like, maybe a rubber because of raising cost of production and maybe shortage of labor. How true is it, and is it really going to affect the industry, I mean, per se, the tea industry?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, that it's happening in Assam, it's happening in the Nilgiris. If you just come here, you see the amount of tea areas which are being uprooted for growing vegetables. And then you've got a whole lot of areas which are being sold off for urbanization. Because, I mean, if you look at, the normal small holder here, who probably has about an acre of tea in his control, he earns a paltry sum of 5,000 rupees per month. And that is after running from pillar to post to trying to, find labor, to pluck the thing, to deliver it to a factory, all that goes on. If he sells that same 1 acre, even in the remotest of the areas in the Nilgiris, he gets himself about 1 crore of rupees. He puts that into the bank and he's happy for the rest of his life. So it's a changing environment. I mean, yes, the industry is going to lose out because the industry is not paying back. At the farm gate, we just don't get, we just don't earn as much to keep the thing going in the same manner. I mean, when we sell our teas internationally, everybody wants to know about sustainability, about labor welfare, about pest residues, about everything in the world, which all costs money, which we put in. But then when we tell them, hello, we want 5 cents more, they'll turn around and tell you, no, we want the tea at 2 cents less. So, it's a cleft stick we're in at the moment. And the industry is definitely suffering because, and I say this again, because of a lack of having been marketed well.
What about corporates like Tata Tea and Hyacinth Malayalam? Why aren't they investing in enhancing the quality of tea, Mr. Indy?
You really have to ask them. I mean, I worked with corporates for so many years. They just don't want to spend money. I mean, people don't seem to, the Indian attitude, unfortunately, has become, okay, you put in money today, I want my return tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. Tea has a long gestation period. In any case, there is no such thing as a new tea area that you're talking about a gestation period of 7 years. But even if you put in money in the factory, you will not get a return immediately. You may not even get a return, but you have to keep pace. So why the corporates are not spending money is a good question. They've sucked the estates dry. I mean, you look at what has happened in Assam, it's a crying shame. Companies which were benchmarks for the world. You had the oldest tea company, it's called the Assam Company, started in 1852, 1853, is the oldest tea company. They've sold out. What are they doing? They're doing all sorts of other rubbish. You see McLeod Russell, the single largest producer of tea globally. Today, McLeod Russell is selling their estates. I mean, it's a we're going through a major catharsis in this industry.
We probably have time for one more question. Samir,
I just wanted to ask Prashant here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Muskan is missing. I just wanted to ask her about that Nilgiri bamboo tea, which is awaiting a patent. Some good news there, but I think she just stepped out. So
no, wait, hang on, where she? Don't know. She loves to talk about this.
Maybe I'll ask Indy one question till she comes back. If you,
I'll call her in the meeting. I'll just call her.
But she's coming. She's coming.
She's come back. She's back. She's back.
Yeah.
Did you miss that, Muskan?
I'm so sorry. I've got 4 dogs. They're driving me crazy. Sorry. What was that question?
So Muskan, I was asking you about, after all that we heard about tea, just to know that you guys are trying to do something wonderful. So about your Nilgiri bamboo tea, where you're getting a patent in your name, hopefully. So just can you tell us about that very quickly? I mean, how does that come about and something about that?
Muskan, that's you, waiting for you.
I think she got bad connection there. She's on a freeze.
Actually, when we started manufacturing, we were getting, it took up, you can hear me now?
Now it's better. Yeah.
Okay. No, so I'm saying so initially.
Cut the video, then it will be better.
Yeah, okay. I can. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what happened is initially when we started the tea studio, it took us about, I would say 5 to 6 months to actually get the tea pluckers or the suppliers to give us the quality of leaf we wanted, because they are so used to picking much larger leaf than what we required. So what we used to do is we used to actually get the regular leaf that the regular factories take, which is about, I would say, the first leaf in a bud and down to about the 5th or 6th leaf. And then we actually employed girls to sit and hand sort that leaf. So individually, they had to hand sort the entire leaf. And the rest of it used to either be given back to the shed, or, it was sort of waste for us because we had paid for that leaf, but you couldn't use the remainder part of the leaf. So it was just a sort of thing of experimenting. I was like, okay, let me just try using just the internode between the first leaf in a bud down to the 2nd or 3rd leaf in a bud. So it was just experimenting using the internode. So the bamboo actually does not have any leaf per se. It is only made using the internode.
Very interesting. Any other questions? If you don't have any other questions, Samir, did you have a question?
Yeah, one last quick one.
Yeah.
We spoke so much about tea, different qualities of tea, etc. I would like to know from Indy Khanna that what is his personal tea, what he likes the best. I mean, worldwide, you must have seen a lot of varieties of tea. Don't tell me bamboo tea. I'm sure that will be excellent. Apart from that,
please answer smartly, Dad.
I drink what's called the peony, which is a white tea. That is my. I have a liter in the morning and a liter in the evening.
Wow.
So it's a peony. It's a white tea. So it's a very mild tea, but a very flavorful tea. And that is my favorite. Yeah, well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Indy Khanna and Muskan, for that very enlightening discussion. I think, like you said, tea is a discussion that we can go on and on about. Such a topic that really people love to discuss about it. Thank you once again. May I request past President Ramdas to propose the formal vote of thanks?
Before we do that, just one quick one. In case you want to just see what we are doing, you could check our website. It's teastudio.info.
We'll
I've got that. I will share it with our group. Thank you, Indy. I will share that.
Okay. Yeah.
We also might just land up at your tea studio.
No, that we welcome you anytime.
Go ahead, Ramdas. alias.
Good evening, all. When anybody comes and speaks to any audience, the people who generally listen will listen with their point of interest or what they can understand of what they are aware of. The subject that we heard today, right from the production in the beginning, which was the basic, to coming to the finer things of the varieties and the flavors, how to drink it and how not to drink it, was something wonderful. And we would like to compare it. Basically, I'm talking on behalf of the majority of the members in our club who always like a good whiskey every evening. And this is exactly what we understood is the variety that you're given and the flavors that you're given, how do you drink is like the Scotch whiskey and the single malts, how it goes. And the 12 rupee chai kadai which you get is at what you get at the local bars. So thank you very much for sharing this. Just like if you see the Scotch whiskies, most of them are, you have Shiva's Brothers Limited, and then bulk of them are George Ballantyne and Sons, John Dewars and Sons, Johnny Lever and Sons. Like that, we have here Gurinder Khanna and daughter, who have given us the beautiful thing about the tea studio. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ramdas. That was more about whiskey than tea.
You've just elevated us to a higher plane. Thank you.
No, it's basically the comparison of how he has given us the explanation on the tea. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ramdas. Once again, Indy and Muskan, thank you. Let's Rotarians and hands, let's give them a big round of applause for that very enlightening discussion. Thank you so much and hope to bump
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And with this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.